Hey guys, Jack Peach here and welcome to this video called Beyond Red Flags, a step-by-step guide to knowing if she's worth it. And I made this video because you hear so much talk online about red flags, but it's pretty surface level. It only gives you a few examples and it's good content, it's nice, but this will actually give you a three-step framework to vet if you should commit to a woman. That's ultimately what red flags are there to teach you. Should I commit to this woman or should I next her? And you should watch this to save you years of wasted time, and also potential heartbreak will be avoided through watching this video. So I'm going to share with you the exact vetting framework that I myself used on my wife, but I've helped 40 plus men find relationships. And I say 40 plus, there's 40 men that I know have found relationships. A lot of guys I work with, lose touch with after the program, and a lot of them I'm sure are in relationships, but I can't confirm that. This is 40 men I can confirm are in relationships that have worked with me. And 18 of those I can again confirm they've been engaged, and 8 of which again I can confirm are married. And all these guys that I know are with the women they want. Okay, and that's so key. And here's one of my former clients, Cody, getting engaged. So you can see there's real proof. I'm not just saying this stuff. Because this isn't theory, okay? This is a battle-tested system that separates the women worth your time from those who will waste it. And by the end of this video, you'll know the 3 critical areas that determine long-term relationship success. And if you miss any of these, by the way, you're headed for disaster. You need all 3. And why most men are fooled by what is called girl game, first coined by Pat Stedman, and how you can see through that and therefore be above your competition because you even understand this concept. And 3, the connection secret that makes women reveal their true selves. This is really, really important because this is the heart of all true connection. And finally, you'll also learn how to avoid the #1 vetting mistake that costs men years of your life. Now, I want to give you fair warning at this point. This training will challenge everything you think you know about evaluating women. But if you're really serious about finding a committed relationship that leads to marriage, family, companionship, all these things, fulfillment that every man wants, you need this information. And that's why I'm giving it to you. Now, there's one simple problem that most men face, and this is the brutal truth. They have no idea how to vet women. They just don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're looking for. They see these 10 red flags to watch out for. And I'm as guilty. I create this content too. It's good content, but it isn't actually that valuable. And this causes them to either settle for the wrong woman out of loneliness, or they let the right woman slip away because they don't recognize her value and they get lost. I've seen this so many times from guys who get lost in red pill thinking or into, other styles of kind of like masculinity content. They end up not kind of realizing exactly what they've got, and they think that she's worse than she is. And I've worked with lots of guys who have suffered regret as a result of this. Now, I've worked with nearly 200 men. It's 194 at the time of recording. And I see the same pattern repeatedly. Guys get excited by surface level attraction or chemistry with women. They ignore red flags because she's beautiful or she's fun to hang around with. Or they mistake temporary behaviors for permanent character. Again, that's what those kind of red pill guys fall into. Or they can even rush into commitment without proper evaluation. And what's the result of this? It's wasted time, broken hearts, and having to start over at square one again with all the dejection that entails. You're just another year older, and the older you get, the harder dating gets past a certain point. But it doesn't have to be this way. So how should it be? Now I'm going to take my earphones out because I don't need these in, and it makes me look a bit silly. So the foundation that you must remember is that connection always comes first. Whenever we're trying to vet someone, and before I reveal my 3-step vetting framework, you need to understand this. So you just cannot vet someone if you're not genuinely connecting with them. Think about it. If a woman doesn't trust you, she's not going to show you who she really is. She's going to show you a presentation, a face. She's going to give you her best behavior, which doesn't actually reveal her true character to you. And that leaves you making the wrong decisions because you're not really making, you're not making true decisions based on factual information. So why so many men get blindsided 6 months into a relationship when her real personality emerges. And some men, even I worked with a guy a long time ago who married a woman who he basically avoided one of these key areas, and I'll reveal that to you when you get there. But two of them she had. Two of them that great, everything was great in these two areas, but because the third area she didn't show who he truly was because he didn't have the skills to connect with her. They ended up, getting married and going for a really bad divorce. As a result of that, and that's because he didn't understand this. If he understood this when they were initially dating, he wouldn't have been in that position, and that's why this is so important. So, how do we actually connect? Well, we use what I call the vulnerability spectrum, which is basically a progression where you both gradually reveal more and more authentic parts of yourselves. And there's a specific way you have to do this for it to be effective. It's quite a complex thing that requires its own training. And generally, I'll be honest, I only teach in detail during my coaching program. But it's basically the basic principle is that people reveal their true self in layers, and you must create the right environment for this to happen naturally and as quickly as possible. Right? You can't rush the process, but best practices means you can do this in 6 months instead of 2 years, essentially. So, that being said, with connection being so important, how do we actually vet people? Well, after analyzing hundreds of successful relationships, obviously using this within my own relationship as well, my own marriage, I've identified the three areas that determine long-term compatibility. So area one is chemistry, which is the easiest to evaluate, but also the most misunderstood. So this is really what you're looking for with chemistry, which is, does the conversation just naturally flow without forced effort? Do you just genuinely enjoy her company beyond physical attraction? Although physical attraction is obviously important and is a key part of chemistry. And in general, you'll enjoy someone's company more the more attracted you are to them, to be honest. Does flirting feel effortless and mutual? That's key. And the real green flag for you guys having great chemistry and this kind of ticking off the boxes when time seems to disappear within your conversations. I remember this from my own marriage. One of the things that gave me quite big confidence in my wife, my then girlfriend at that time, was like we could just spend hours together talking about nothing. And that has not always been the case with previous girls I dated, even previous relationships I had. And this was for me a real sign that there's something there, and this is one part of it. It's not the only part, but it's crucial. You can't avoid any of these. Now, there is a caveat here that chemistry is a threshold issue, okay? It's not a maximization game. We're not trying to get as much chemistry as possible. We need that maximum amount for it to succeed. No. I've seen clients chase the highest chemistry only to crash and burn because the other two areas weren't there. While I've had other clients who have, kind of good enough chemistry, they still can flirt with them, they enjoy her, the conversation does flow, but they actually had better chemistry with other women, but because the other areas were so high, they were able to build incredible marriages. Okay, so just bear that in mind. The higher, the better for all these areas. Obviously, the better you can get, the better it's going to be. But really, we're looking for someone who crosses a 6 or a 7 out of 10 in all three is much higher than a woman who's 9 out of 10 in two and then 3 out of 10 in another. Right? The average is more valuable than the extremes here. The second area that you should be vetting for is character. And this is where most men get it wrong. Character isn't about perfection. Again, if we think back, one of the big mistakes people make, they mistake temporary behavior for permanent character, right? It's not about perfection. We all have character flaws. We all gonna make mistakes in certain situations, including you, but it's about consistent patterns of behavior. What do they do consistently? And here are some of the key character traits to evaluate: their punctuality and reliability, how she handles mistakes, and that's both yours and hers, by the way. Her response to stress and conflict, this is so important. A key one, treatment of service workers, families and friends. How does she treat people who she doesn't have to treat well? And whether she takes personal responsibility versus having a victim mentality. And there's a little telltale sign, something to look out for, is watch how she acts when she thinks you're not paying attention and when you're not around. And if you can find that out in some way, you will get a really good view for who she is. Now, just to add, in my coaching program, the Dynastic Dating Program, I do provide a comprehensive character evaluation checklist with specific scenarios to not necessarily create's probably the wrong word. I should have phrased that a little bit better, but they will naturally happen and to be aware of and the red flags to look out for here. But these are the basic things we're looking for. And then step 3 of the vetting framework to use. Step 1, we have chemistry. Step 2, character. Step 3 is values. And this is the make or break factor for long-term success. And the core areas you need alignment on are faith and spirituality. And that kind of goes for as well, kind of political views as well. They're kind of connected. Family and children, health and lifestyle, work ethic and ambition, and money and financial responsibility. Now, there's a crucial distinction here, which is you need broad alignment on key values, not perfect agreement in every detail. The classic example I always use is family and children. Like, you want someone who wants children in a family, and that something's really important, but don't get lost in how many kids they want, right? Oh, she wants 5 kids, I want 3, right? That is still alignment, okay? Like if you, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I actually wrote it here, right? You both want children, not you both must want exactly 3 children. I'll tell you from experience, it changes when you have kids. You don't want to think that far ahead. So, again, another example of this, you both value fitness, you both do things for your health and fitness, not you must both do CrossFit or you must both go to the gym, weightlift, right? If she runs and she eats healthily and you go to the gym and eat healthily, that's more important. Does that make sense? Now, I want to circle back to that example of my client who got divorced before he worked with me. The step that he missed was character. They had great chemistry, great sex life, really enjoyed each other's presence, got on really well. They had the same values. They're both Christian, both wanted kids, blah blah blah. But her character was really poor, and he thought, oh yeah, we get on and we have the same values, so I can overlook this. This doesn't matter, and it ended in divorce. And him, it was tough. Let me tell you, it was tough for him. I don't want to go into too many details out of client confidentiality. So there is another degree to this, that there is the girl game problem and how you can spot it. And here's something most dating coaches won't tell you, and that's women are naturally better at social dynamics than men. And that means a lot. A lot. Women have mastered what I call girl game, which is the ability to tell you exactly what you want to hear, regardless of whether it's true. Okay. This is really, really key, that, a woman knows what a man wants and she'll tell you what you want to hear. Does she actually live up to that? That's another issue. So how can you identify girl game? Well, her words don't match her actions. She gives you perfect answers kind of too quickly. Her values seem to align suspiciously well with yours, right? Like almost everything seems in alignment. It's almost, it's a classic scam. If it seems too good to be true, it probably is. She changes her personality based on who she's with. And you got to be careful of this one, because we all put on certain different hats when we're with different people. You're not the same with your mum as you are with your best friends, but there should be broad alignment of personality traits within that. Now, the complete girl game detection system I teach has 7 specific situations and conversation frameworks that you're trying to figure out during the natural dating process that will reveal her authentic self. Again, this is an advanced material. I'm never going to share this on my YouTube channel for free, guys. It's just not. It's only going to be shared with my coaching clients. Now, here's something key. Why you cannot rush this process. And I get it. You want to know if she's the one as quickly as possible. You want to know, have I finally found her? I had a client this week have this situation. Been on 3 dates with a girl. She seemed perfect. Everything was great. And he was already, visualizing their life together. And then he got the message, it's not going to work out. Or really nice guy, but I can't remember the exact message she sent him. But the reality is the same. She didn't want to go on more dates with him, and he was already visualizing it. He was trying to rush the process, and that skips the importance of connection and of the actual dating process. There is a system and a science of dating that you have to follow. If you don't follow, do the right thing at the right time, the relationship falls apart. It fizzles apart. It fizzles out, or she just doesn't feel that spark anymore. These are the common phrases people use to explain that. But in reality, true vetting takes 6 months minimum. That is the very minimum that you can do it within. You can get married within a year if you do this properly from the beginning. But for most people, it does take 2 to 3 years. But if you do this right, it can be quicker. Because some character traits and values only emerge under specific circumstances. For example, things like how does she handle stress? You have to be in a stressful situation. What's she like when she's tired or hungry? You have to be around her when she's not just putting her best self on. How does she treat people who can't do anything for her? Again, you're looking for patterns of behavior, not just a one off. And what are her real priorities when forced to choose? Again, I've got another example of a client who's just found a new girlfriend. Really grateful for him. Older guy, 44. They started their relationship officially this last weekend, but they've been dating for about 3 months at this point. And his former relationship, which was maybe 5 years ago, his last relationship, what caused that to fall apart is his girlfriend at that time got a job in a different city and pursued her career over their relationship. She moved to the other side of the country. When it came down to it, she showed her priorities, and it wasn't him. She was forced to choose them. And I'm sure there were red flags and warning signs before that, which I'd have been able to identify. Anyway, so you can accelerate this process by creating the right situations, but you can't skip it entirely. And you want to be really careful. Again, I've used this like creating the right situations. The right situations will naturally present themselves. There's a right way and a wrong way of doing this. You're not trying to test her and to catch her out. They will naturally, organically come up, just to let you know. But you need to be aware of it and what you're looking for. Remember, dating involves calculated risks. You cannot ignore this. Your job is to gather enough information to make calculated and the best decisions possible. It's not to eliminate all uncertainty. You cannot do that. And here's my personal results and why this matters. And I've developed this framework after years of making the same vetting mistakes myself. I had a couple of very bad relationships with women I should never have dated. I attracted to the wrong signals and ignored the right one. I definitely put emphasis on chemistry and looks above values, for example, and character. Definitely when I was younger, and I think most men do at some point. But once I refined this system and started teaching it to my clients, especially, obviously I met my wife, who I now have 2 kids and a third on the way. But also I've helped people like these guys get Andrew, who's married, Jeremy, who is now married with kids, Jake, who is, I think he's married as well now, who's engaged at this point. This other guy who got a girlfriend. This is Matt, still with Vanessa, his girlfriend for a long time at this point. This is Yarden, been in a relationship for 9 months. This is David. He was ready to commit to the first woman he met because their chemistry was so good. And it had been so long since he'd had a girlfriend, basically, that he was willing to overlook her obvious problems. But we used this framework. And one thing I always say to my clients, I will not do this for you. I'll not tell you what to do in your relationship. It's your relationship. It's not my relationship. But I will draw your attention to certain things and allow you to make a more informed decision. And we used this framework to identify several major character flaws in that woman, which saved him from a potential disastrous relationship, potential disastrous marriage. And 6 months later, he met Sarah, properly vetted her using this system, and they're now married and have their first kid, their son here. You can see him with that child. So what does this mean for you? It means if you're serious about finding your future wife, you cannot afford to wing the vetting process. Every day you spend with the wrong woman is a day you're not available for the right one. And every quality woman you let slip away because you didn't recognize her value sets you back months and even years. As I say, David, I think it'd been like 4 years since he had a relationship. The guy I was talking about before, who's just found a relationship, he'd been 5 years single. He'd gone from 39 to 44. That's a big difference, guys. And this framework is your roadmap to making better decisions faster. But here's the thing. What I've shared today is just the foundation. The real power comes in the advanced techniques, specific conversation frameworks, and nuanced red flag identification systems I teach my clients. That's really where you're going to get it. That's really where you're going to learn to identify these things. So if you're ready to go deeper and you found this training valuable and you want to accelerate your results and find a relationship, finally meet the right woman, settle down and stop worrying about this and stop letting this area of your life stagnate, then I invite you to book a free strategy call with me. On this call, we'll analyze your current dating situation and your biggest obstacles. We'll identify the specific vetting mistakes that might be costing you quality women. We'll create a personalized action plan for you to find and attract your future wife. And we'll determine if my coaching program is the right fit for you and your goals. If it's not, no worries. It's free, there's no strings attached. If I can help you, I will. If I can't, no worries. The worst case scenario is you come out with this action plan and a better understanding of where you're going. This isn't a sales call, okay? It's a genuine strategy session where you walk away with clarity and actionable next steps, regardless whether we work together. So I only have limited spots available each month. As I'm recording this right now, I only have one spot available left. This is a YouTube video. You're probably not watching it when I release it potentially, so that doesn't really hold true, but I only take a certain amount of clients every month, 3 clients a month. So if this is something that you are interested in, book your free strategy call using the link below. And until the next video, I will see you next time. Jack out.